big topic that we've been discussing on CNBC is the wealth tax and this whole proposal by Senator Elizabeth Warren. What do you think about this as a CEO, as someone who has created a lot of value? What's your perspective?
Well, I think at a really high level, looking at the government deficit today, there's clearly a need to increase tax revenues overall. And so I think then the question becomes, how do we do that, in a way that supports business, supports our society, and of course, society has made some of these businesses really successful. So I think that's a really important piece. And if you look at the tax structure today, very broadly speaking, it's progressive, meaning the top 10% of taxpayers, I think pay roughly 70% of all tax. But if you look at the effective tax rates, it's actually regressive at the top end, right? So that's where you have Buffett's famous quotes about paying a lower tax rate than his secretary. And I think that doesn't make a ton of sense. And I think if you look over United States history, wealthy people, high income earners have actually paid more. We've had a more progressive tax rate at the top end. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think another question that's coming up frequently is really around capital taxation. And so historically, capital tax rates were cut to try to encourage investment. But I think today, if you look at the business environment, we're actually in an environment where capital is quite abundant. And in that world, it may actually make sense to tax capital at higher rates, or at least commensurate with income. People, I think sometimes say it's easier to make money with money. And if that's the case, maybe we should tax, tax capital at least at the rates of income. And then I think, lastly, we do have a wealth tax already today in the form of estate tax. That tax has come down over time. And so I think, maybe there's an opportunity to increase estate tax and close some of the loopholes that allow for, wealth transfer over time. So I think overall, this is really a question about, raising more revenue for the government to be able to invest in, improving society, providing more services to our citizens. I think there's a lot of different ways to do that.